we can do the first place, second place, because there's a funny story there.
We can do that. Hi, everyone. I am here with Ali. We are continuing his tale of a whale of a tale.
This is going to be entitled Whale of a Tale 2.
Yeah.
Um,
A little bit about what is happening here. Ali is on a journey of discovery with what you can do and can field in version 3. So, what have you been going over so far? You've been doing the air power,
so we've done air power. We've done
tank
the
power.
5 Panzer III, so like hardcore tanks. We've had a little play with anti-air power, so we did that with Hungary.
Yep.
Then we went down the rabbit hole of super low order dice with high veterancy. So that was the triple veteran Shermans with Rangers. That was 9 order dice at 1250.
Yep.
And this Whale of a Tale 2 is when I was going down the rabbit hole of all infantry.
Mm.
So it was to try and shake myself out of tanks and perhaps, along with other people around our community, point people in the direction that, you know, tanks are great, tanks are cool, but you can do this game in Bolt Action version 3 without tanks. And so this was the quest, or the vision
and
quest.
you
I feel
took
like I'm
that
on.
to a tournament. So let's just talk about the tournament as well.
Yep. So the tournament was called the Guns of Brimlone, which is held in Glasgow at a place called the ACVC Hub. The ACVC Hub is for returned servicemen. It acts a bit like a charity, but it's a place that they can go to do arts and crafts, meet fellows like themselves, and it's also a gaming venue as well. So they do great work, and all the money they earn there goes directly into the charity to help service people in that area and beyond. What is good about the Guns of Brimlone is that their player pack is 1,500 points, but there is a dice cap of 15 dice, and this is in its second or third year now, and it's a popular event. People like the player pack. There was a few other limitations: no more than 1 observer of any type, and no more than 3 flamethrowers. So there was maybe 1 or 2 other restrictions, but nothing that impacted myself. And this year there were 32 players that bought tickets, and there were 31 players that had tank platoons, and there was 1 player, the only player, that didn't have any tanks at all. That was me. That was me. Right. So there was one other unique aspect, or not unique, but I guess a nugget of knowledge, that in the past, every player had 14 or 15 dice religiously. We hit the 15 dice mark. This event, there was a spread. There was as low as 9, a couple of 11s, a few 12s, 13s. So not everybody was driving towards 15. So there's an acceptance that, at least at this event, that dice might not be the be all and end all of what you need. But effectively, though, with 31 out of 32 players with tank platoons, it's a tank battle. So
it is
no better place to test out an all infantry army.
Right. And so, like we just talked about, we should perhaps start with showing people what you brought.
Yes. So exactly. While Bo pulls up the list,
I'll just pull that up.
We'll talk through my list, and then we'll talk through the lists that I played in games 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll talk about the games themselves. Bo does love a PowerPoint, so I did make a PowerPoint for this one as well. So this is me. So I'll let Bo give it the Bo review.
First thing I want everyone to notice is 1,500 points, so it's very high points, 13 order dice. So you're going low order dice, which is difficult to do when you're going all infantry. So I'm guessing everything will be veteran, and a lot of the units will be quite chunky. We have a platoon commander, 1 extra man. Okay.
Sorry, it should be noted. No, it should be noted for this that the player pack only allowed Germany from the rulebook.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm like if you were running armies of Germany, I might even extend this a little bit, like make it a unit in
Yes,
itself. Yeah,
I would have.
yeah. Fallschirmjägers, nice and chunky squads here of 8 man with a bunch of rifles and double LMGs, stubborn as well. Wow, these are going to survive a lot of punishment. And with double LMGs, they're also dangerous at range. And then one Fallschirmjäger here with 4 assault rifles. Wow, 4 Panzerfausts, you madman! So this is obviously to threaten away all those tank platoons,
Yep.
and one more with double machine gun. Company
Yep.
commander to
So,
keep everyone motivated.
yeah. So that was 3 8-man Fallschirmjäger squads with twin LMGs,
Yeah.
and the 8 Fallschirmjäger with 4 assault rifles, 4 rifles, and 4 Panzerfausts.
Yeah.
Look at the points cost of that unit, 196 points.
That's a Death Star, right? An infantry Death Star.
Yep.
A Shrek team, veteran as well. 88 points. Wow. And an engineer platoon with platoon commander, veteran, extra men on all the commanders. I like it. Pioneers, also quite a chunky unit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, they really
Flamethrower,
are.
4 shot machine guns, 3 Fausts. That's a lot of Faust you've invested in, Ali.
Yeah, it
Oh
was,
my
wasn't it?
God. It
203 points. Even looking back at that list, it's like, wow, that's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. And you bought that twice.
Yeah.
So that's 3 of your units that are above 180 in points. Oh man.
Yeah.
And then a flamethrower team.
Yep.
And a couple of Hanamax to transport everyone.
Yeah,
Wow.
that doesn't look good, does it?
No, it doesn't look good, but man. I mean,
Yep.
it's going to be difficult to. Well, the Hanamax might be easy to kill, but the rest of it, all those veterans.
Yep. And if I had access to Armies of Germany, the book, I'm sure I had the options to make all the platoon commanders Fallschirmjäger, which I would have done, and I'm sure you can get Fallschirmjäger Pioneer squads, which I would have done.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I've got the points all over the place to make that happen. But there's one, before we sort of go away from my list, the mentality that I had was that obviously it had to be all infantry, couple of transports. You know, you need to be able to get around the battlefield.
Yeah.
And they're a good delivery system.
Yeah.
But
especially the engineers need some kind of transport.
Yeah, they need to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Each infantry squad, though, and now you have to think in an abstract way about it, each infantry squad is a recreation of what a tank can do.
Yeah.
Loosely. So those 3 Fallschirmjäger squads with twin LMGs, they are spitting out, is it 14 shots?
2 times 5, that's 10 plus the that's 3 more.
14.
Yeah,
it's 14 shots.
14 shots, yeah.
Yep. So they're little DACA tanks.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it doesn't have the range, but you won't be able to one-shot kill them, you know, like you would like a DACA tank. Then you look at the Fallschirmjäger squad with the 4 Panzerfausts. That's like a medium tank. You know, each Panzerfaust is +6 penetration. Okay, it's only got like a 12-inch range. But if you really think about it, you're only ever going to want to kill at least one other tank with your tank. Really, let's face it, maybe 2. So 4 Panzerfausts, that recreates a tank, and then the two flamethrower, the 2 engineer squads, they're representing another, you know, medium tank. So even though I've got all infantry, I've got 3 medium tanks and 3 light tanks.
Yep. Or at least the same power, if not the same mobility, but you do get a lot of the mobility from the 12-man Hanamax, yeah.
Yep. And so I knew already that the Hanamags were going to have platoon commanders in them.
Yep.
and the engineer squads were going to be in them, and then one would have the flamethrower team, and the other one would potentially have the Panzerschreck.
Mm.
So, and snap to action.
Yep.
You're going to hear a
action, just so
lot about
good.
snap to action. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, Bo, do you remember in version 2 when we used to talk about snap to action?
Yeah.
And you said, "Oh, we hardly ever do it," and it's like, well, I did do it, but anyway.
Yeah, well, you're one of the few.
I was one of the few, but now
really, I've seen the light in version 3. I use it almost every single game now.
Yep, you have to.
Yep.
So that's the list. So it's 13 order dice, some really big chunky units.
Yeah.
All veteran. Yeah.
Right.
Really happy.
And then let's look at the lists that you played over 3 games.
So this was Rob West, and I played him in round 1. So we're not going to talk about the results of the games just yet. We're just going to talk about the lists that were played. So I'll let Bo give it the Bo treatment.
Right. So 15 order dice Vengeance. I would always run Vengeance unless I'm doing something with Assault Brits, which no one ever does anymore. Love the naming of the units. Princess Liz Windsor. Love it.
He has these are all historically accurate, by the way. He did do a lot of research, and I know that his family are associated with this particular formation. So
right, brilliant. So the 2nd Grenadier Guards, it has a veteran lieutenant with 2 extra men. It has infantry, veterans, again, 1 light machine gun, 8-man squads, 1 light machine gun, 8-man squads, and then 1 push unit special forces of 5 dudes, 4 submachine guns in that, tough fighters behind enemy lines and stuff, veterans again, and another one here with 4 submachine guns. Staff Sergeant, which is a heavy machine gun, right. This is a soft-skinned vehicle with an HMG on it. Okay. I would not do that, but I like the HMGs, but not on soft-skinned. That feels wrong to me. And another one. And a civilian car. Right, a lot of transports in this list. And then 1st Guard armored platoon here. So we have tank commander here with a medium tank 9+, medium AT gun, and machine guns. Right? Okay. Another medium tank, medium machine gun, and super heavy AT. Wow, this is a Sherman Firefly. Right.
And the 1st tank, I'm sure, was a Cromwell on the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. And a Humber. Love my Humbers, but in this meta, I don't think they're going to survive long. They're going to need that recce. 2 of Humbers and an artillery platoon on top of that. There's a lot of units compared to your list here.
Oh, I know, it's terrifying, isn't it?
It feels like there's a lot, and he only has 15 order dice, and you had 13. So it just feels like a lot lot
feels like more.
Yeah. So an officer inexperienced. Yeah. And platform mounted. Oh, that's a triple autocannon.
Yep.
Wow.
2 of them.
He has 2 of those.
I know.
Right.
Good list, isn't it?
That is terrifying. I mean, those autocannons, if they go to work on your infantry, that's actually terrifying. Yeah.
Yep.
It is a good list. I like it.
It's a really good list. Yeah, I was really intimidated.
Yeah.
But we'll find out about that later. That's round 1.
And then round 2, you were facing off against, who was this? Another British list.
Gentleman in the name of Kevin.
Kevin, right. Yeah. Another 15 order dice. I'm assuming that this one also used Vengeance.
Yes.
Inexperienced platoon commander. He's saving up points for something else because his infantry sections are also very small compared to yours, and regular as well. 2 backline holders with LMGs, 1 special forces 7-man. That's the SAS. Who dares wins. One more of those, right? So they are chunky, but not in the size of Ali's list, Ali's infantry units here. Company commander, veteran, to keep him going. 2 extra men on him as well. Artillery observer, 2 extra men, veteran. Okay. Peer team. Yeah. And the M5 half track, 12-man capacity, HMG mounted on that. Lovely. A truck. And a heavy weapons platoon with 2 heavy mortars and spotters. Again, with the these inexperienced commanders, he's really not using many points on these commanders. Heavy cruiser tanks, that's a Comet. Super heavy AT gun, that is a very expensive tank.
Absolute beast, and his veteran as well.
Yeah, and reinforced armor. Wow. And it's the command tank, so even if it does get pinned, it's very likely to just shrug off the first 1 or 2 pins. And Crusader AA, which you all know and love. It's brilliant.
Veteran as well.
Wow, so a Death Star and then a bunch of support for that.
Yeah. Those sort of min-max infantry units at the start, what is it, like 5 or 6 guys with twin light machine guns?
Yeah, exactly.
Good, cost-effective way to get some shots on the board. So, but another really good list.
Yep. And then the final list that you faced was that Daniel
Britton, yes.
11 order dice. He's even crazier than you. 11 order dice at 1,500 points. Company commander, inexperienced company commander. And then rifle platoon, regular officer, just a single man. Rangers, 7 men, 1 BAR. Where's he spending all his points? 7 men, 1 BAR, Rangers, and a 6-man rifle squad. Air observer, okay, he's veteran, and he's got 2 extra men. A bazooka team. I like the inclusion actually of the air observer. If he doesn't get shot down by all the flag, right? It can go in and hurt that one key clutch unit. Bazooka team, Jeep for the bazooka team. Nice. Armor platoon. He is using a Pershing. Right. That is a 10+, gyro stabilized, super heavy AT gun, which is veteran. I mean, that's an insane amount of points. 410 points, veteran Sherman. Veteran Pershing. And he backs it up with veteran Shermans. He's using your list.
He's definitely been inspired by it. Definitely inspired.
Oh, that is brilliant. That is awesome. Okay, right.
Tough going.
Then let's go to the actual presentation of your tale. Okay. What the hell happened here?
So, whale of a tale 2. So we're off to Broomloan. It's infantry and low-ish order dice. So we'll wait for you to start the presentation, and then we'll get into it. So what's the first slide? So game 1 was top secret, and we had long table edge and meeting engagement. So nothing was deployed on the board except for observers and spotters. First wave, and we had outflank as the option. So this was the list. This list I played against was the British list that had the twin light trucks with the heavy machine guns and the twin triple light autocannons. So if you're looking on the screen now, so top secret,
you can see the 2 Humbers on the flank.
On the right flank. As this is from my perspective. So the top secret objective is directly in the middle of the table, and it's in that wooded area of dense terrain. So before we even sort of start to think about the game itself, the game was more leaning towards a draw than it from the very start, because you're going to take at least maybe 2 turns to get up there, and then a turn to get into dense terrain, a turn to get out of dense terrain, and then you need more turns to actually get it off the board to win the game. part of the point scoring was it was 5 for a win, 3 for a draw, 1 for a loss. You got 2 points for claiming the secondary objectives. Secondary objectives were not sticky. You had to be on them at the end to get it. And then
Is
you
that
got a
what's
bonus.
marked over here in this ruin?
That's correct. So you can see the gold token on the left-hand side in that hardcover dense terrain ruin. You also got a bonus point for killing the most expensive enemy commander piece, and you got a bonus point for keeping your own most expensive commander piece alive.
Okay.
So the way this game started was I refused the right-hand flank, as you can see it. I just placed one of the LMG squads behind our ruin just
Over
as a
here,
counter. But they've also, if they move diagonally to the left, they are 2 run moves away from supporting the central objective. This photograph, I should say, was taken quite early on in turn 1.
Looks like turn 1, yeah.
Yep, as everything's going on. On my left flank was where I was pushing. I wanted to make sure straight away that the secondary objective was mine. But you can see also that my opponent had the same thought. So you can see that he's positioned the 2 triple light autocannons pointing directly at the at the secondary objective. So
as soon as you step foot in that ruin, you're going to get shot.
It is just going to turn into an absolute meat chopper in there.
Yeah.
And he's sending infantry up as well to claim that. Looking more towards the center. So what actually did occur was that I sent both the half tracks down the center to try and create a perimeter around the top secret objective. I was trying to win. I wanted to win the game.
Yeah.
And where that crater is in the middle, that's pretty much where my half tracks ended up. And then engineers were spilling out of the middle, and I laid claim to the center of the table. One thing I had done was sacrifice is maybe a strong word for it, but I sent the Panzerstrike team on foot up the left-hand flank very early to try and discourage him from bringing any armor on this section, and it did work because you can see that the 2 Humbers are over on his right, the Cromwell is sort of right of center, and the Firefly ends up going there as well.
Okay.
But what did happen was that the truck that you can see up in the top left, the heavy machine gun fired and killed one of the guys from the Shrek team, and then the infantry unit got out and they killed the last one. So I was actually 1 dice down very quickly, and I actually ended up like 2 or 3 dice down very quickly as well. But they were sacrifices to get myself into a position where I could lay claim to the center of the board. What didn't happen though was I could not get the objective to move. He was always able to shoot my units off or, cause them to fail order checks.
Yeah.
So that I just couldn't get it. So by the end of turn 3, I knew the game was a draw. I knew that he couldn't get there. I laid claim to the center, but I couldn't actually move it. So the game was a draw. It was done. So at that point, I wanted to ensure that I had secured the central objective. So you can see reasonably early on, I started to put pins on the triple autocannon gun emplacements. I just couldn't have them.
You can already see that they've got one on this picture. Yeah.
And their veteran and their inexperienced platoon commander was in there as well. So I was able to put fire on them, and I also put fire on them from the half tracks that ended up in the middle and started to reduce their crew numbers down. I did end up in that ruin with infantry units, and I did claim the secondary objective. And I was also able to sweep round my left flank. I scooped up that infantry squad, I scooped up the truck, and I actually got right down into his gun line and killed off the remaining, artillery pieces.
Yeah.
So the game was a draw. I think if you flick to the next slide. So the game was a draw. In the end, I killed 10 dice and lost 5.
Okay.
And I got the secondary objective. But the game was always going to be a draw unless somebody did something really silly.
Yeah, that classified objective there, sitting in rough ground, made it very hard to get, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Had it been sorry, before we get there, I'm thinking for game one, had it been in the open, I firmly believe I could have won.
Yeah.
I could have won that game just by deploying the same tactic and forming a perimeter around it. I had enough infantry units that could run in, claim it, and then retreat.
Run back, yeah.
And I would have sacrificed veteran engineers, half tracks to screen its retreats. So, but my opponent played really well. He was up on dice quite early on, and he never made any enormous tactical errors. But he maybe could have pushed the center a little bit more. But then again, I guess from his perspective, he's trying to run down through 2 engineer squads with flamethrowers.
You don't want to get close to that, especially
not really.
not with the Panzerfaust as well, right?
Not really. I did get the Cromwell.
Yeah.
I did get it in the end.
Yeah, because the only thing he could have done was push his heavy tanks straight onto the objective and at least try and push you off. But yeah,
I would have taken it out. And I had the company commander right in the guts of it in the center, so everything was activating. But good game, very enjoyable. And
then second game against Kevin.
So this was against the British, and this was key positions. We rolled 7 objectives.
Wow,
it was a nightmare for you all. It was table quarters with deployment, and we had outflank as well. So I cannot remember who got to choose, but I ended up with the table quarter in the bottom right. And again, this is quite early on in turn 1. And so you can see the big sort of grey blobs. They're the objective. Are they not? They're khaki coloured objectives. So there are 7 of them scattered around. And then there's a house up towards the right-hand side of the image that's got a little sort of outhouse toilet next to it. So if you look there, you can see the golden secondary objective, and I've got a 2-man squad on it that I got to deploy. Sorry, I got first turn run my Panzerschreck team into there. So they were in light cover and covering that road, which I suspected he was going to send armor down, which you can see that
he is already on the way down.
Yeah, the comet's lining up to go down there. What we did have, though, just for confirmation, that reserves could only come on via your deployment zone.
Okay.
That was already discussed and sort of predetermined before the event took place. And the key position objectives are sticky. So I think you can see that.
Yeah, you've got one here.
Yeah, I just put little tokens down. And what I found myself doing was I found myself sweeping all my infantry and just tapping them and leaving them. I knew that the only thing he had on outflank was his Crusader AA. So I knew that he wouldn't be able to then reflip them with any sort of sneak attacks. I have got a half track with engineers and a platoon commander on outflank on my left flank. And my thought is that I'm going to push. I'm going to push into his deployment zone. At some point late in the game. That little building in his deployment zone, he has got one of his 5-man or 6-man regular LMG squads. The wall you can see around the church, we declared that infantry could not see over it.
Okay, so it blocks quite a lot of line of sight.
Yep, and it is tall enough. So he happily deployed his heavy mortars behind there, which is great. They're nice and safe. You can see a 3-man infantry squad in the graveyard. That's his artillery observer. And then he's also got spotters in the big church. So he's got good lines of sight for his mortars.
Right.
So you've flipped over. I was going to talk more about the game itself. So I actually pushed on all fronts. So I've got the 8-man faction. Yeah, so working from sort of top to bottom, the 8-man Fallschirmjäger squad with the 4 Panzerfausts, that runs up the top right. So it would effectively be on the other side of those buildings. It runs up to put pressure on the Comet. So the Comet was actually a bit fearful of coming down the road because the Panzerschreck was there. He swung the half track up the road, dumped everything out, and then my Panzerschreck got the half track. So it was empty, but it was still a kill.
Yeah.
But what that did, though, was he had some SAS in there, and he dumped them onto the central objective. I got 13 pins on that unit. Fanatics. Absolute nightmare. 13 pins. Well, I was hitting them, but he was making cover saves and armor saves, and they just didn't. And there was still 3 of them left, and they were just 13 pins before I finally got enough of them dead. So that then they just snapped. But
wow,
and that was a learning.
Yeah.
Where I think we might all be believing that stubborn troops are the best for holding objectives.
Nah, fanatics.
Dump a big unit of fanatics on it, and as long as they're in cover and you don't want them to do anything. And there was a slight error on his part that if he should have left them down and just sustained down.
Yeah. So
just to shed all the pins.
Yeah.
But in the end, he doesn't want to do anything with them. Just be alive. So yeah, it was 13 pins. I was absolutely. I had to check the rulebook in the FAQ. I just couldn't believe they weren't going anywhere. But everything was above board. And then in turn, his Crusader AA came on the left flank, and my engineers followed it on and destroyed it. So I never actually got to put pressure on his deployment zone. But again, I scooped up enough of the objectives to make it worth it. But he had his mortars firing all the time, so it was a victory.
Yeah.
And I killed 6 dice and lost 3. It's worth noting, though, to my opponent, and I think he realised this, I wish I'd counted the raw number of infantry models he killed. He didn't kill that many units, but most of my units were down to like 3 or 4 guys from 8.
Wow.
The dice lost were some of the smaller teams, maybe an officer or 2. But like on raw miniatures killed, he killed the most all weekend of my army. But again, though, I was doing that in return to him.
Yeah.
I never got the comment in the end. It was too good. And that is another quick learning. A lot of, and I hadn't thought about it until obviously after it's all happened, that a lot of players were packing super heavy anti-tank guns, anticipating that they're going to play lots of armor, which they all did. But super heavy anti-tank guns spit out a 3-inch template, which veteran infantry don't like.
Yeah.
So in the first game, the Firefly was doing it. In the second game, the Comet was doing it, and I couldn't get them.
And you're also being hit by heavy mortars at the same time. It's a lot of templates.
Yeah, the heavy mortars did pay their dues, and I couldn't get to them. So no, and that's why I lost a lot of infantry. Not a lot of units, lost a lot of infantry, but it was a victory, and I got the secondary.
Brilliant. Then you go into third game against Daniel.
Yeah, so one draw and 1 victory. So going into round 3, we're there. And so it was breakthrough, long table edge, prepare position. So this is early turn 2, or maybe late turn 1 when I've taken the shot. So obviously I've got this side of the board from where the image is taken. A little discussion about the board that you can see. It's a beautiful board, but it's not a bolt actiony board. It's very much a sort of
medieval
Dungeons and Dragons fantasy, but it was gorgeous. And see all those trees? They're all magnetized and like the little gravestones. It was attention to details phenomenal. And you can't see that in the middle of that town square there's a beautiful courtyard with a fountain, and it's like a little marketplace with little stalls and stuff. It was pretty special. And it was actually quite an enjoyable table to play on, but you can see that there are gaps in terrain. Over on the right flank, there's a sort of straight bit of open ground, but between the board edge and the graveyard.
Yeah, over here.
Yeah, there's 2
you
hills.
You also got a huge open space here, and
and that's where I had to run through. But sort of, there's a hill up in the top right and a hill in the bottom left. And they had small roads or pathways that could go up, and we declared it impassable for the sort of mountainous sides. On the left now, though, you can see where my half-tracks got. And so that was some of the opening moves of the game. And Daniel committed that Sherman to take a shot at the half track before it had moved. I had left it exposed, kind of exposed. It needed to be exposed.
Yeah.
So he's moved.
You need to get up there. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's moved the Sherman up, and with what do you call it? Gyro stabilized, so no movement penalty. So he was sitting on a 4+. So it was a 50-50.
Yeah.
Which he missed. What that meant though was that I snapped to action straight away. And so in that half track was the engineer squad, Panzerschreck, and the platoon commander. And my plan here on this table was always to form the battle line at that road. So that's a road that intersects two areas of dense terrain, soft cover, like forests.
So you've got quite good cover in certain areas around this place here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was always committed to making that the barrier. I could see the gaps where Daniel was going to try and break through. And that's where I was going to set the battle line, and I did. And so what you can see from the picture, hopefully clearly enough, is that the engineers have got out and strung out in a line so that the Panzerfausts are... You've disappeared. Whoa, are you doing crazy?
Yep. Sorry.
Game 3. There you go. So the Panzerfausts are all to the left, and the flamethrowers in the center because he had Ranger squads in the middle there. And I also managed to get the Panzerschreck team into the other section of forest. And so the Panzerschreck team, you can see they've got the order dice on them. They missed hitting the Sherman, but the two Panzerfausts got it. And the flamethrower managed to get a hit on a Ranger squad, killed a couple, put some pins, and they passed the check. But getting that Sherman quite early on, it now blocks that sort of line of travel, and I've formed my battle line there. So I was quite happy with that. If you're able to zoom out of the picture, I can talk a little bit more of what was going on in the game.
Something is...
You got something frozen?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Technology.
Yep. Isn't it wonderful?
That is good. I'm just glad I took images this time.
Yeah. Right, we'll try again. Right, okay. Here we go.
Okay, so we won't do any more zooming, but the secondary objective is all the way over on the right flank, and it's somewhere close to the center of the board, but in the graveyard.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what Daniel had done was he had refused that flank, but he'd thrown there's like a 6-man regular infantry unit that he had. He threw that over there as a token, sort of. I might go for it if you don't, but I fully committed a 8-man Fallschirmjäger unit to it. Center board though, you can see the other half track, and that has to face off against he's got his air observer quite dug into the middle, which he manages to call a shot in. But the other Sherman's behind that big tree on the right hand side. He's tucked in there, and I had to do the maths in my head in terms of how far we deployed, what my movement is, how far I can get forward. So I threw the half track forward on an advance. So it was like a 12-inch deployment, a 9-inch move, a 6-inch deployment out, and then the Panzerfausts have got a 12-inch range.
Yeah.
And so what I had already done, again anticipating what Daniel was going to do, I actually put the 8-man Fallschirmjäger squad in there, not the engineers. The other engineer squads are on foot, center board, just as
is it one of these units down here behind?
It is. It's that one.
Yep.
Yep. And so I was able to get 2 Panzerfausts in long range and fired and got the Sherman. It was an absolute
Yeah.
steal. And I got them both.
So that's 2 Shermans down.
Yeah, I got them both quite early on, turn 1, turn 2 sort of thing.
Ouch.
So it was good to scoop up those big dice.
That is going to be a rough matchup then, because Daniel is already low on order dice, and now he's 2 heavy tanks down. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing you won this game?
Yeah, so the game did progress on. Daniel never got anything off the board. I did manage to push the center. The Pershing actually does a lot of driving around because you can see it in the center. It comes up to try and fight through my battle line on the left flank, but doesn't actually make it. Then it manages to swing around and pretty much get back to where it was to try and defend the center. I had a few failed order checks with the half track and a few other units because I was taking pins from the Pershing as well. But I did manage to push the center and get some units off the board. So if you do click on the next slide, it is a victory.
Yeah.
And
you killed 9 of his 11 dice?
I killed 9 of the dice and lost 4 and got the secondary. But what we both realized, Daniel's a really good player. But when you're asking an army like his to purposefully move closer to an army like mine, it's not. And he wanted to win the game.
Yeah, of course.
We both wanted to win. But when you're asking, move closer to the guy that's got 10 Panzerfausts and 3 flamethrowers and a Panzerschreck on veteran infantry, it's like you don't. No, you don't really want to do that.
No.
And I think Daniel knows that he made an error when he set his air observer too far forward.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many, he had 3 guys that were veteran, they're in hard cover, but, I was able to direct 2 of the DACA infantry units onto it. And I think I even mugged it with a flamethrower, the flamethrower team, but it was exposed. I mean, he got an aircraft that came in and wiped out like half a unit of veterans, but he really needed to get both in and to work in concert with the rest of his army to try and push a gap to push through. Yeah. So, it was a good game. Losing those 2 tanks early on.
That's clutch for you.
Set him back so far. Yeah. So no, it was a victory.
And that means that you end up in 3rd place. Yes.
So
with all infantry.
2 wins and a draw. 3rd place. That's me on the right-hand side, of course, all happy. Got a medal, and they have got some fantastic terrain makers there. So what I'm holding in front of me is a river section. I've still got it here. It's absolutely amazing. So that's just like one part of it. So it's all sort of resin river.
That looks so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's got little clicky bits that just can I do this live on screen? No, but it's cool.
No, but basically you got a river.
Yeah, it's 4 sections, and one of the sections has got a bridge. I'm really chuffed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it was really great to win something that you really wanted to have.
Yeah.
A really great terrain piece. So no, it was 3rd place, and yes, ecstatic. All infantry in a field of tanks. But Bo, do we have bonus time?
We do have a little bit of time, yeah.
Okay, so what I gave to Bo was the lists that finished 1st and 2nd, just to see.
Yeah. And while I find the lists, could you just talk us through maybe some of the things that you think that could potentially be learned from your experience running all infantry here? What do you think people can take away from this?
You can't force some of the nations to be good at this. Yeah. What made Germany good about being all infantry was Panzerfaust access. I am now going to go on the record and say that 15 points for a Panzerfaust, it's the right cost.
Okay.
you might not agree with that, and many people might
I
not. But
felt like initially that it was maybe a little overcosted. My thought would be 12, 13, but I'm pretty much on board with you that Fausts are still usable and okay. Yeah.
yeah, and having 10 of them,
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. 10 of
Yeah.
them, so for sure that's 150 points spent on Panzerfaust, but they did the business.
Yeah.
Flamethrowers, yeah, the reputation of them not being as potent is definitely true. Going from +3 to +2 to
Yeah.
kill,
That hurts.
and then running out of fuel on a 1 and a 2,
Mm.
and then also going up in points. But they're still a good tool to have. So I'm not going to take them out, but you do need transports.
Yeah.
To go purely all infantry, just all on foot, is just no. You really shouldn't. So armored transports and half tracks are good in version 3. So
Yep.
you should take them.
Mm.
And I think when I look now at my army, I would have mixed in some fanatic units.
Yeah.
You know, having all stubborn, and actually with the specific build I had 3 8-man squads with 2 LMGs. I would have taken one of those out. I
Okay.
found like I had
You had enough.
I had enough with 2 of them.
Yep.
So I would have taken something with either some more mobility
Mm.
or split the big squad into maybe 2 squads of regulars just to get another order dice.
Yeah.
Maybe, or maybe.
Maybe.
Oh no! If I had access to the army book, I would have taken Brandenburgers.
Ah, yeah.
And that would have got me my fanatics as well. So
It would. Yeah.
But no, look, in terms of a broad brushstroke of learning, not every nation will be able to do an all-infantry army. Test them all out. We've seen, and you've had on your channel, Russell Wright with Japan.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
No.
Because Japan.
Yeah.
But for me, Germany did work because Germany, and it has lots of tools.
Yeah.
I anticipate the Soviets could do it. And if you've got access to lots of anti-tank grenades, that's it.
Yeah.
But I know that we are a little bit time pressured. We've got some bonus time.
Now, just quickly, so we have 2 more lists for you guys today, which is number 1 and number 2, right?
Yep.
And this is the Soviet one, which came first.
Yes, this is first place.
Right. So we have 15 order dice. We have a company commander, inexperienced. We've got rifle platoon, inexperienced commander, again, scouts, 7-man scouts, so quite chunky units, and they're just so good with the infiltration and the bonus to their survivability for +1 to cover saves. Then the tank riders with body armor, 5 guys. Veteran squad here, double Faust, again with the Fausts. 4 submachine guns, Komsomolets, veteran to keep it going or to outflank, and another Komsomolet, this one regular. Armor, T-34, T-34, SU-76, SU-76. Right, this is an anti-tank, very chunky anti-tank list here. So there's like there are 2 heavy AT guns and 2 medium AT guns. This should be able to take on.
Was there anything more at the bottom?
Yes, there's another platoon here, an artillery platoon with a heavy autocannon and a heavy autocannon. Right,
yeah, both veteran.
Yeah,
it's a really good list. But you
really
can see the SU-76s with the medium anti-tank guns and the 2 T-34s with the heavy anti-tank guns.
Yeah,
very much tooled up to punch enemy armor. Yeah. And then you've got that 6-man veteran squad with the 2 Panzerfausts. That's going to be in a Consommate, 100%. Yeah. And I know you've got tank riders.
Yeah, right here. Which is going to be in the second Consommate most of the time, I think. Yeah. No reason to ride the tanks. You could just sit
because they're going to get shot off straight away. So
this is a very good list. And then the second place one was another 15 order dice Soviets again.
Yep.
Right. Platoon commander, scouts, 6 men, 2 of those. Veterans again here, 6 shot machine guns and 2 Fausts. Again with the Fausts. Tank riders again, very similar, isn't it? 6-man body armor, dog mine. Yeah. Even though the armor is heavy, I still think the dog mine can do work. The light mortars may not have a place in this meta, but you know, whoever brought this obviously did well anyway. T20 come Somerlet, T20 come Somerlet, and are you kidding me? 2 T34s again, and SU-76, SU-76, SU-76. What the heck?
Yep.
This is the same list almost.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So yeah. So two Soviet armies in first and second place. It's worth noting that the players that finished in first and second both come from Edinburgh, and they both game together, and they both arrived in the same car together. So
with the same list.
Yeah, I think the lists were cloned. I'm sure. Listen, that it is what it is. But if you found a formula that works, then you take the formula that works. And in an anti-tank meta, the 2 SU-76s or the 3 SU-76s, if you've got them, with the medium anti-tank guns, 120 points regular. It's an extremely cost-effective way to get that gun on the board.
Versatile, so you got the howitzer if you want it. I mean, it's just very, very good.
Yeah, I've thought if I had to face either of those lists, how would my infantry do?
Yeah,
and it would have depended on the mission, but
really would.
Yeah. But there you go, all infantry.
All infantry. The verdict is still out. Russell may have failed with the Japanese, but
no, the verdict's in. All infantry are winning.
Well, you didn't win it, Ali. You didn't win it. But I mean, going undefeated and taking third with all infantry, well done. And I hope there's something for everyone to learn about, like experimenting and doing things that you think are fun, but doing them well. I think
we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Thank you so much for coming on today, Ali, and telling us this next Whale of a Tale.
Yes, there will be a Whale of a Tale 3. And I'm almost too afraid to say what it's going to be. Brain carriers.
Ooh, that's it from us today, and we will see you next time. Cheers.